get the job?
Well, was two gentlemen, I think they're Polish, they're Zig and Al Dombrowski, are from, they lived there in Dunkirk. And they bought the Chautauqua Lake Marine Works.
Mm-hmm. Where was that located?
Right down here where the Lakewood Bathing Beach is.
Yeah.
You know where the Packard Estate and all that is?
Right.
That road that goes down next to the back, there's a dock that went out there and they had a great big building out there. That was the Chautauqua Lake Marine Works, which they ran. And people would come up and store boats up there, you know. And
so where Bush is, Bush has as you talk about the Packard Manor.
Yeah.
And you come down that road, which is right next to Lakewood Beach.
Yeah, you go right straight out on that. Right. You go right out on the dock to where the Chautauqua Lake Marine Works was. It's gone now. Sure. It's been torn down, but back in the early years, because I spent so much time in the lake and I would always go down the marina, they asked me if I would like to have a little job down there. I said yes, and that's how I got started down there.
Now, who was your boss?
Zig and Al Dombrowski. They were two brothers.
Two brothers.
Yeah, two brothers that owned it. They owned that place. And then up in the Snug Harbor bar and all that is up there.
Right, sure.
Okay, they at one time built that building to show boats that were to be sold. Then you go down towards the lake into the Prendergast Creek, I guess it is. That's where they would bring boats in, and they had a great big building where we would they'd take the boats in and pull them up and store them underneath there for the winter.
What ages were you when you were working down there?
This is a hard thing to figure out. I know Robert H. Jackson was still in Jamestown at the time. Mm-hmm. And
when were you born, Don?
I was born in 26.
Okay.
So maybe it was in 36, 37, or 38. It was before the war, I know. Mm-hmm. Because, but anyway, Robert H. Jackson was still coming up there. He'd call up there and want them to tell someone to go out and get this boat and bring it up, so he'd have some going. So he'd come up and get on there a certain hour of the night or day, and which we'd have to go out. All the boats were moored in buoys out in the front out there.
So your job, for example, Jackson would call the marina and say, I would like the boat ready at 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock, and yeah, then we'd go out and get it and bring it up to tie it up so there's people out on the boat and away they'd go, and they wouldn't be back until late at night, so the boat would be always back on the marina there, and we would have to take it out and put it in the buoy.
So you might sometimes work very late at night?
No, I never worked that late at night.
Okay.
Because they would come in, Zig and Al Dombrowski lived in like a little apartment in the second floor of the marina.
I'll be there.
So they had a place would come down and get it, tie it up and all that. But then the next morning when Dick and I would get down to work, we'd have to make sure it was filled up full of gas, take it out to the buoy, and anchor it.
Tell me about the Alibi itself, the boat. What kind of
it was
boat was it?
A big cruiser, probably 34, 35 feet. As I say, at the time, my memory wasn't that good to remember, but it was a big boat. It had bunks in it and like a little kitchen and a john in there, and it was a pretty good-sized boat, the Alibi was.
Was it anything distinctive as far as other boats you
No,
saw? Were
no.
there other ones like it?
Oh yes, there's a lot of other boats that were just like it, very similar to it, but I will say this, another thing we used to do was the Packard family would call them up. Are you taking pictures of this now?
Yep.
Huh?
Yeah, you're right.
Oh, you're kidding.
Yep.
But the Packard family would call up down there and they would say, can you get our boat out of the boathouse, have it ready so when we come up there, we can take it out on the lake. Now that was a huge, huge boat. But anyway, we'd go over there, walk over there, go on the marina or out to the boat. And it was in a big boathouse where we would go in and back it out, and tie it out in the front so that those people could come out, walk out, get out of the boat, untie it, and away they would go. We did that quite a few times too. And then we would always have to take it over and get gas filled up. So when they would come back and the there again, then at night, they'd tie it up out there, and Dick and I would go out and get it, and we used to take it trips out, short ones, and guys, it was a lot of fun. We got bigger ones, and we'd take it over to the marina, where they put gas in there.
So where was that? Where you fueled it up, where was that?
Right at the Chalk Lake Marine Works.
Sure.
They had a big gas tank that was built in the ground. Well, there's a big, I think their Lakewood's bathing building is there now.
Right.
But then they was piped out to the pumps out on the dock out there.
How many boats were in the marina during the summer?
Oh, there was quite a few. There were not too many tied up at the marina because they were quite small. But most of them were anchored up out on the lake. And I can't remember. There's quite a few. I can't remember all of them. But there's one guy I remember very well. Is this Herman Magnuson?
Sure.
He had a little boat up there, and I will say this. What he used to get from me every year was a skipper's cap, like a visor on it. It was a lot of fun to see him coming up there, and he would bring his hat up to me.
I think I still see Chuck Magnuson.
Yeah, I do too.
His son wear that type of hat.
Yeah.
In describing the boat, you described the size of it, but how would you further describe the boat?
Well, it had a cabin,
Right.
and then back on the top, they would have like a big awning over the back part of it. So people could be out there underneath the awning, and there were seats around the back and all, what have you. So it was a good sized boat. But we'd have to go out there, and two of us would have to go out there. One would have to go on the boat and start the engine, and the other guy would go out and untie it and unleash it, not touch, but remove it from the buoy. And he would either bring it around, or I would bring it around and bring it around to the marina dock, where they could walk right out on the dock and get into the boat.
Did they have on the back Alibi? Where was it?
Oh yeah, the name of it was the Alibi. I can remember that very well.
Yeah. Did they ever spend nights out on it?
I could not tell you whether they did or not.
Yeah.
I could not tell you whether they did or not, because they would always be out. By that time, I must have been 12, 13 years old. I don't know how old I was. I can't remember. But anyway, I would be home, and in the morning I go back down there, and the boat would be back at the dock of the marina, and either the Dombrowskis would have it filled up full of gas, or we had to do it, and we would have to take it out, and had a little dinghy that we used to row out there, take us two out there, and then climb into the boat and start it up. And
did you have any reason to ever go on the trip with
no.
Were you there when he came down?
Usually, once in a while I'd be there. A lot of times I wouldn't. I mean, I'd be home because there was nothing more going on except for him coming down to get on the boat and away he'd go.
Describe him.
Truthful, very seldom did I ever see him.
Right.
Very seldom did I see him. I have no idea if he walked out on the dock there, I would have known who he was.
Sure. Where did you live?
We lived on Terrace Avenue, 121 West Terrace. This was the last house on Terrace Avenue on Lakewood there. My dad bought it, years back. He bought it in about 1939, I guess. And so I lived up there, and I grew up on the lake in the summertime, either in, on, or under the water. I lived to regret it because I've had more skin surgeries done than you can shake a stick at.
Right.
And my nose has been replaced. I had a big patch put on here and my top of my ear, and so you don't realize how bad the sun can be growing up, because I would get some pretty good sunburns.
Right. Fair-haired Swede.
That's right, 100%.
We're related.
Yeah, we're cousins.
Yeah.
His grandmother and my grandmother were sisters, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
It's a small world.
Yeah, it sure is.
And I remember, Don, you mentioned it one time when I was kind of starting this Jackson Center, that you had worked with the boat,
Yeah.
Alibi, and
Yeah.
you've always been intrigued by that Alibi. It
Yeah.
seems to have been part of his summer.
Was, as I say, I used to work down there, and I don't know if how much I got paid, but they didn't pay me very much, but I enjoyed just being down there as a kid and doing that work for the Packard family and for Alibi. And there were other people that would want their boat down there too, but I can't remember who they all were.
Why would have Jackson picked the Lakewood Marina? Because he lived on Fairmont Avenue.
Yes, it was the closest marina to him where he could, as far as I know.
Mm-hmm.
And one other thing I used to do was his daughter's name, Mary.
Mary.
They used to have horses up at the stock farm up at the top of the hill up there.
Mm-hmm.
And when the marina was closed and they weren't sailing, a man by the name of Mike Hine, we used to go up there and exercise the horses.
Oh, really?
Mary's horses. And there was one that she had when she was down at the Robert H. Jackson Memorial. They were setting it up. I went up and introduced myself to her and told her that I guess that was when they were going back and forth to Washington or something, that I used to exercise her horse, and his name was Happy. She says, well, you're wrong. The horse's name was Happy Days. Oh, man.
Who else was doing that up there? Well, first of all, where was the farm?
It was right up at you go up Chautauqua Avenue, and if you went right straight to it, there's that restaurant there, well, it used to be Perkins or something like that. Then there's a bank there now, but they had a great big yellow barn up there. And there was a black gentleman named, his name was Pelly Neal. He was the one that ran it, and he would take care of all the horses and feed them and all that. But we were told we would go up there. Then they had a great big ring out in the back, way up in the back there, where like a lot of houses are there now. And we'd go up there and ride the horses around a track just to get them exercised.
Do you remember any of the other horses?
No. Well, there were a lot of horses there, but I just remember the one that I used to ride the most, which was Happy.
Now known Happy Days.
No, and she said, no, it was Happy Days. Oh, dear.
Oh, how interesting.
Yeah.
How many number of horses were there?
I would say maybe 25 or 30.
Those are big.
Yeah, it was a great, big place, and they would, that Pelly Neal, he had an apartment up in there, one of the corners up there, and then above on the second floor was just loaded with hay. They would, fill it up there, feed and all that.
What was Pelly Neal like?
He was a nice gentleman, just black man.
Mm-hmm. How old was he at the time?
Oh, Lordy, I don't know. I have no idea. He was in his 40s, 50s maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But then, I don't know why they tore the place down, but I guess the people stopped, like during the war, they stopped bringing horses in there and all that. So the village of Lakewood, I guess, had the building or the barn put down. And
were there trails, or was it?
No, just a big fenced in, like a horse racing track.
Right.
You go up there and go through the gate, and then we could run around the track and up and walk across it, or whatever the horse wanted to do.
Was it open to the public? Could the public use the horses, or was it private only?
I cannot answer.
Mm-hmm.
But I know this Mike Hine was very big, and his father was very big in the horse business up there. He used to breed horses, and and all that. And of course, I knew Mike Hine very well, and he'd say, "Come on, let's go up there and exercise some horses."
He was older than you?
No, about the same age, maybe a little bit younger.
Is he still around?
No, he's deceased. He died. He moved out to California, and he passed away.
Okay. That's an interesting piece.
Yeah, sort of. That was fun. My growing up years.
Describe the Packards. Which
Well,
part of the Packard family do you remember?
The original Packard man was deceased at that time. I think he passed away quite young. But there was a brother or son or I couldn't tell you what he was, but they would call up there and marina and ask if somebody would come out and get their boat ready for them because they didn't like to back it out and they didn't like to put it in.
Right.
So we would back it out and tie it to the dock out right out front there. It was a beautiful big boathouse that was there at the time, and that's just that's all gone now too. And Blair, or not, well, the Mallory family had that big house where, what's his name, Blair? Bush has now. And one thing I can remember about the Mallory family is we loved the 4th of July.
Right.
Because they would always have many fireworks that they would send up in the air. And Bob Walkerman, Dr. Walkerman's son, lived right across the street from us. We'd go down there out in a boat so we could really see the fireworks, And then the last one was one that went way up in the air. It would light up, and it would be lit up, and there'd be one with an American flag on it would come floating down.
No kidding.
Yeah. And we used to go chase that to get a hold of it. So did everybody else.
Right. Lakewood was fascinating.
Oh yeah, that was good.
Was there a beach there? Was there a public beach?
There was a beach there where the beach is now. They had a beach there, and in fact, I remember growing up in years they went and needed a lifeguard, so I remember learning to be a lifeguard, but I never was big enough or old enough to really do it. But I did learn all the steps in learning to be a lifeguard.
The golf course wasn't there at that time, was it? Way back when Lakewood had a golf course which sort of was in that area.
No, I don't know. The golf course was gone by that time.
Because part of where I lived was part of this
Yeah.
old golf course.
Yeah.
Don, this is Professor John Barrett.
Hi, how are you?
Very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet
Barrett
you.
Carson, this is Don Magnuson.
Hi there.
Nice to meet you.
John, want to sit here? I'll give you a quick
We're just
update here.
jumping in, so carry on, of course.
Well, Don, a little bit. Don, first of all, we're related.
Yeah, we're
Okay.
cousins.
Okay.
Yep.
Did you guys know that before today?
Oh, hell yes. We've known it before we grew up.
Okay.
And
And who's older, you or Greg?
I think I'm a little older. I don't know how old he is.
well, maybe just a little bit younger. Don grew up in Lakewood.
Okay.
Yeah.
Don on Summit, and Don worked at it was called the
Chautauqua Lake Marine Works.
Chautauqua Lake Marine Works, which was, by my house, if you go down from Summit down to the lake and you go directly down,
I'll go on that, just across the lake, all the way down from the lake until you come to where the bathing beach is.
right?
There's a big dock out there, and that's where they had the Chautauqua Lake Marine
This
Works.
is down towards Celeron?
Yeah, you go down towards Celeron,
It's right in my neighborhood.
right in his
You know
neighborhood.
Paul Bush's
Yeah,
house?
yeah.
You go down,
Past that,
past that towards the Lakewood Beach?
you go right to the Lakewood
Playground on
Beach.
the
It
beach? Right in
That's
there.
right there.
was right out there. It was a
Okay, and it was
big
called the Chautauqua?
Chautauqua Lake Marine Works.
And Don was a young,
Yeah, I was young.
probably,
Well, I don't know when he started going. He had to be living on Fairmount Avenue at the time, I guess, in that house, because he would.
When did that road's name change? That was the Lakewood Road, right? And then
It's always been Fairmount Avenue as long as I can remember.
okay.
Yeah,
When he built the place or bought the land in the late 20s,
yeah,
they call it Lakewood Road.
they did like that. I never realized that.
Okay. Okay, but yeah, he was there from about 1928 is when he moved to the
Okay.
Fairmount Avenue house.
But I don't know how long it was when he left, because he used to. When I heard he would go to Washington for a while, and then he'd come back and.
Right. Yeah,
But I
that was
couldn't.
1934 until 1941.
Well, those are the years that I worked at the marina, in those particular years.
so he was in Washington, but he'd come home on summers. And
I guess so.
Yeah. And his wife and kids would come back here and live
Yeah.
during the summer. And
Yeah,
he'd
and
commute
he'd come back and want his boat
Right.
out so that he could bring some friends out and away they'd go.
Okay.
Probably had some pretty good parties out there too, probably.
You're never invited.
I was never invited, no.
When were you born, Don?
When, my year?
Yeah.
Pearl Harbor Day, 1926.
Okay.
12/7,
Okay.
26.
Okay. And you were working full-time at the Marine Works?
Not full time. I just put a lot of time in there.
Uh-huh. What kind of stuff did you do? Were you,
Mostly bring boats, get people boats in there, gas them up for for the Chautauqua Lake Marine Works guy, the Zig and Al Dombrowski, who are the owners of the Marine Works.
Okay.
And this other friend of mine is Dick Merrill. He's not, he's lives in Michigan now, but he's supposedly coming back in the next week or so.
And he worked there along with you?
Yeah, yeah.
What's his name? Dick?
Richard Merrill.
B-A-R-R-O-W?
No, M-E-R-R-I-L-L.
Oh, Merrill, I'm sorry.
Merrill.
Okay. Were there slips?
No slips to speak of. Most of the big boats were put on buoys out in the lake.
Okay.
And again, there was a lot of them that were out there. They would be out there quite a ways.
Okay.
And we would have to...
So you had like a tender that would take people out to their...
Yeah. Well, no, not so much like that. For example, if you had a boat that was moored out there, we would take you out there. You get on the boat, and we would disconnect it from the buoy, and you would start it up, drive it into the marina to pick up your passengers.
Right, okay.
But they had a little small inboard engine boat that we used to use, and also one of the little rowboat that we used to use.
Okay. And when you say most of the bigger boats...
Were anchored out there.
Okay.
They just had a few little ones because the dock was not that long or that big. And I can't, there was probably maybe about 8 boats were tied up by the dock there.
Okay.
They were all small boats.
Okay. The Alibi was one of the bigger
Yes.
ones?
Yes.
Okay. About how long a boat was
I would
the Alibi?
estimate it was maybe 35 feet long.
Okay. I've seen photos of it.
You have? I'd like to see photos of it again too.
Okay. I can definitely send you a copy. It's got a little back deck area.
Yeah.
Where you could have a wicker chair
Yeah.
or two.
Yeah.
And then it's got
Canopy.
sort of canopy
Yeah.
over a deck area.
Deck area.
And then it's got the wheelhouse.
Wheelhouse, and then down underneath it there was they had bunks and stuff like that, and there was a bathroom in there.
Okay. Yeah. Do you remember? Can you describe the underneath area? Was it like a little galley and a little V-berth?
I guess so. They had a little galley. I can't remember it that much, as
Right.
never spent too much that time going through the boat like that.
Okay. Was it a seaworthy kind of thing, or was it like
Yes. No, it was a big boat could handle
Okay.
anything that came up on the lake.
Okay. And what, the engine was back underneath that back
Well, it was
deck?
in the middle of the boat, as I remember. It was in the middle, underneath a hatch or something.
Okay.
Because I know we would have to start it up. We'd have to lift up the hatch to ventilate the boat so there'd be no gas fumes in there, and
Right.
start it up and run a blower to make sure there was no...
Okay. Would you ever go out on the boat with Jackson?
No, never did. Never did.
Okay. Do you know what kind of stuff, did he fish? Did he go out to
I
drink or relax?
I suppose that's what he did. I have no idea what he did.
Okay.
I have no idea when they would go out there, because it was always... He said, "Get my boat ready. I'm going to be up there about 6 o'clock. Please have my boat ready for me so I can go out."
Okay. Would he spend the night on it?
I have no idea, because I would go home shortly after that, and then they would bring it in. Zig and Al Dombrowski, who lived out there on the dock, would probably take it, tie it up, and then in the morning when we would come back down there, we would take it out and moor it.
Okay.
I can remember one thing about mooring a boat with an anchor on the lake. The rope or the chain should be at least 7 times longer than the depth of the water.
The anchor chain.
The anchor chain goes to the buoy or to
Shorter
the
than that,
anchor.
you're gonna pull out.
If it's
to
short, yeah, it would pull it up, where it was 7 times the depth of the water.
Okay. Who taught you that one?
Zig and Al Dombrowski.
I'll remember that formula.
Yeah.
And I guess the
No,
idea.
I grew up on the lake, and I belonged to the Chautauqua. My dad was one of the original investors in the Chautauqua Lake Yacht Club. Back in 39 or 37, 38, 39. Well, anyway, we belonged to the yacht club down there, and I sailed and raced all my life, most of my life. Had a snipe class sailboat, and we would travel. We'd go on regattas out this whole country.
Okay.
We went to California and Ohio and Lake Michigan and Lake Ontario,
So,
Lake Erie.
what age were you when you started working for Zig and Al?
Well, I would say maybe I was 12 or 13 years old.
Oh, okay.
I was quite young, as I remember. As I say, I can't remember how many years it was.
So you're 12, that's 1938.
Probably 38, 39,
Okay. And
40.
how many years would you say Jackson still had the boat and was
That I don't know.
at least a few seasons?
Oh, yes. It was there a few years.
Okay. Do you remember any moments with him? Any?
No, none whatsoever.
Okay.
I would see him come on, walking out there, maybe to get on the boat, but never discussed anything with him.
Okay. Friendly guy?
As far as I know, he was. I couldn't tell you.
Okay.
I couldn't tell
Was
you.
this like business suit going out on the boat? Or
Not necessarily. He'd be
Casual?
probably casual clothes, as I recall.
okay. Friends?
They'd have a lot
Ben
of
or
Ben,
wife and kids?
wife, and I don't remember any kids too much anymore, but there'd be he has maybe his wife and another guy and his wife, and they'd have probably had a good party out on the boat.
Okay. Okay.
Couldn't tell you.
Okay. Did your family, your parents, or anybody know the Jacksons?
Not to
Outside
my
of-
knowledge, other than just knowing of them,
Okay.
not having any connection with them or anything.
In your mind, was he a famous guy? Was he a big shot?
At that time, I could not tell you. I have no idea.
Okay.
I just knew that he had this big boat and would come out and want to. I really didn't do at that time knew very, very little about him.
Were there many boats like the Alibi, or was it?
There was a few other big ones out there, and that were. I couldn't tell you how many there were, but his was one of the largest ones.
Do you know what happened to it?
New.
Okay.
No, because Zig and Al Dombrowski got rid of that Marine Works because the village of Lakewood wanted it torn down. And I can't tell you when that was. I have no idea.
Okay. And that's when they built the current park kind of setup?
Yeah. They had a nice big dock out there, and years ago there was a big heavy dock. The steamships would come up to land there and let people off. No, that was back probably the early 1900s. Because I know we had to be very careful going by there because they had a lot of rocks out there
From the
old dock and all that.
That's great. Was it mostly a powerboat lake or
Oh,
mostly
yeah. Well, both.
both?
Because the yacht club they had a lot of boats, sailboats. They were pretty all sailboats down there. Very few power boats, except a couple of power boats that would be used to start the races and go out and patrol. So if something happened to somebody, they could
Right.
take care of
Where
them.
was the yacht club?
Just down the lake about very, very short distance.
Okay.
The yacht club is still there now.
Right. Okay.
Yacht Club is literally right next door.
Practically. It's
Right.
down a little ways, but
Gotcha.
maybe a block and a half.
How fast would the Alibi go when you're out on the lake? What kind of-
But not very fast.
Okay.
It wasn't a speedy type boat or anything. I have no idea how fast it would go. We never ran at full speed anyway because we just would bring it around and dock it.
Right. During the winter, did they store the boats there?
No boats were ever stored there.
Okay. Where were they stored?
Zig and Al Dombrowski had a marina up to called Prendergast Point. The Prendergast Creek would go down there, and they had a big storage area back in the creek down there. And I know we used to go in the spring. We would get people's boats and bring them down to the marina, and we had to be very careful going out there because if you did, the lake was so shallow from the stones being brought out by the marina.
Right.
So we had to be very careful till we,
Is that the area up the shoreline where there's still some big kind of metal buildings, boat storage?
I don't know, I haven't been up down there in years, but there's a bar and a restaurant there now. I think it's called Snug Harbor Lounge or something like that.
Okay.
Zig and Al Dombrowski built that building to as a way of displaying boats that they wanted to sell.
Okay.
But then they completely went out of business. I think one of them passed away, so the other guy sold the business. And
Are there any members of that family still in this area?
I have absolutely no idea. They were from Dunkirk.
Okay.
I could not really tell you too much about the family, except that I used to know them when they came up in the summertime, late spring and the summertime, lived right up on that big building. Well, not too huge, but it had a big building, and it had a boat lift that you could bring a boat in, you could crank it up so they could take care of the boats that would be in there. I used to clean the bottoms off or fix the propellers or.
Now, what about, from the photos, it looks like the Alibi was all bright work. Would they do the sanding and varnishing and all that kind of stuff?
I suppose they did, but that would be done before
Right.
that would be done in probably the winter time. But
That's You're lucky you avoided that.
Yeah, I do not know where they stored that boat in the wintertime.
Where the Alibi was stored.
I do not know.
Okay.
It was pretty huge, so maybe it was taken down to Celeron or something. I don't know. I have no idea where it was taken.
Okay. This is great. Is there anything else that I should be asking you about the Alibi or?
Nothing that I can think of,
Okay.
except that it was, I say we should do it. I was telling Greg before that the Packard family had a big boathouse right next door to where the marina was.
Okay.
And they would get calls from the Packard family to say, will you get our boat out, tie it out at the end of the pier there so that we could come out, we can get on the boat and take that one out on that.
Okay.
Now that was a big, big boat.
How big are we talking?
Oh, I don't know, maybe 40 feet long or,
Okay.
it was a big, huge, humongous thing as I remember.
Okay.
So we used to take that out and, well, we'd back it out and put it there, and then we would have to.
You're not doing this single-handedly.
No, I had a friend of mine.
Okay.
Yeah. Richard Merrill, Dick Merrill.
Right.
He's about 2 or 3 years older than I am.
Okay.
But we'd take that boat out, take it over to the marina, fill it up full of gas, and then we'd take it back and put it back into the boathouse that the Packard family owned.
Okay. Did you guys ever screw up? You know,
Nothing that we
ground or
No.
hit the dock? Or,
No, well, you had to be very careful with it. You'd hit the dock a little bit, but
Yeah.
it wouldn't be that bad.
Okay. Okay. This is great.
Yeah.
Let me get your address, and I'll send you a photo of the Alibi.
Our address is 30 South Butts, B-U-T-T-S,
Right.
Avenue, Jamestown, New York,
Okay.
14701.
Okay. And your phone number?
716.
Right.
484-9484. It's
Okay.
484 with a 9 in the middle.
Gotcha. And your full name is Donald,
No, it's not Donald.
not Donald.
It is not. It's D-O-N.
Okay. Got it.
My trouble is my middle initial is L. So anyway, I go to school. They say, what's your name? I say, it would be Don L. Magnuson.
see.
Oh, Donald, no.
Don.
I had a good friend,
And wait, what does L stand for?
Leonard. It's
Okay.
my father's name.
Okay.
But anyway, I had a good friend who was Don Van Stee, had Van Stee in the furniture manufacturing. And he went to Lakewood School too, but his name was just D-O-N.
Okay.
And he says, what we should do and what we will do, we'll spell our name D-O-N-N. So that would
Distinctive.
just make it, so it'd just be called Don.
Right.
That's not my legal. My legal is just D-O-N.
Okay. But you do spell it now with 2 N's?
No, not anymore.
No, okay.
Just when I was in school, so the teachers wouldn't call me Donald.
Gotcha, okay. Gotcha. Okay. Well, this is great. Thank you so much
Yeah.
for coming in and sharing these memories.
I don't know if he's taking pictures of this or
I
not.
think you left the camera on.
I don't know.
Yep, I think it's on. So
Holy crow, I hate to have that kind of stuff done.
it's important. It's, you're adding to good community history here.
Well, it was fun growing up in those years.
You said you did a lot of sailing.
Yeah, I did.
Do you remember, I'm trying to do a little bit of research on the history of rowing.
Rowing?
Do you remember any crewing? Like
Yes, the Chautauqua Lake Yacht Club used to have some of those, what do you call them, Pam? No, they had a single one,
Yeah, skull.
sculls. They used to have a single one you could row, or they had a
They had a four-man boat?
four-man
That's really interesting.
drive.
Did you ever do any of that?
No,
Just sailing?
just sailing.
Yeah. Did you know anyone who did?
No,
Didn't know anyone who
because that one time when we went down there, they was sort of giving up a little bit. Nobody wanted to go out and row those things. That was
Yeah.
too much work for them, I guess. But I know my dad years ago started the snipe fleet in the Chautauqua Lake Yacht Club.
And that's what you sailed?
Yeah, he talked 4 other gentlemen into buying a snipe sailboat because you had to have 5 boats so that could be called a fleet, a
Right.
class,
Yeah.
which we did, and we finally wound up at one time in the years, we got up to about over 30 boats, 30 snipes. But now, with the advent of the fiberglass hulls, there's too many different kinds of sailboats.
Yeah.
Lasers and sunfish and sailfish, but they used to have a lot of Class C scow boats up there too. There was, I can't remember how many it was, but the big fleet was a E-scow, which had 4 people.
Right.
Then we went to the Lightning class that you had 3, the Snipe class for 2. Those were the 3 basic fleets in the years growing up.
Yeah, I've sailed in East Cal before.
Have you?
It's fun.
Well, I did too.
Yeah.
I did too. But as I say, I had a Snipe and number 10101.
It's a good number.
Yeah.
Do you still do any sailing?
No, I had to give up sailing. I was in a car accident back in 1969. And I have a herniated disc.
Ah, okay.
And you couldn't hike in or out. It'd just kill me to do it.
Right.
In fact, even sitting for a long time, I can feel my back. And
Okay.
but the other thing too, years ago, the sooner we had snow and the more we had of it, the better I liked it.
Okay.
'Cause I loved to ski, and my whole family did.
Okay.
We skied down at Peak and Peak and down at Cockaigne, and then they had a nice ski area out towards Westfield. Between Mayville and Westfield, a nice ski area there, and we used to travel all over.
In Jackson's time, maybe even today, what was the boat season? Boats would go in when and come out when?
They go in the spring, they'd come in and take them out in the fall.
Is it an
No
early
particular-
spring, a late?
Well, it depends. Some people love to keep their boats in the water until the end of October.
Right.
And they love to see the leaves going up and down. And some of them would come in early, and as soon as the ice would get off the lake, well, they'd start
Putting them in.
putting their boats in the water. And
John, I don't know if you got into it, but John also exercised Mary Jackson's horse.
yes,
Oh,
yes.
Tell us about that.
Well, that would be in the fall or the winter time, and that was when I think they were going down living in Washington. And had a good friend. His name was Mike Hine. He was an avid horseman, as his father was
Hine, H-E-I-N?
H-I-N-E.
H-I-N-E.
And so anyway, we'd go up there, and
This is up to the Lakewood.
they had a horse barn up at the top of Chautauqua Avenue. I can't remember. I think it was a
Right.
Chautauqua Stock Farm or something like that, but it's disappeared now.
Chautauqua Stock Farm.
Is that what it was, the Chautauqua Stock Farm?
Yep.
Yeah, we used to go up there and exercise the horses, and I remember when they had the big thing down in Low School there when they were setting up his statue. His daughter was there, Mary, and I went up and introduced myself to her, and I told her that what I used to do, I I'd say that in the wintertime when you weren't around, we would exercise your horse, and this horse's name was Happy. He says, "You're wrong." "What do you mean?" She says, "The name was Happy Days." Oh.
Now, was this kind of volunteer thing?
Oh, yeah.
They
Just to
weren't-
give us something to do.
They weren't paying you?
No. There again, it was just when I was growing up. And
Who was running the stock farm? I mean, who
I don't know who, I do
let
not,
you and Mike in to?
there's a black gentleman, Pelly Neal.
Okay.
He was the one that took care of all the horses there and fed them and took care of them and all that. But I really don't know who really owned the building in that area. I have no idea who it was.
Jackson was there, and there was another gentleman there. He had
Is it Sunstrom and Barker?
Parker. That was it.
Was it? Never did know who really owned that place. We just go up there
You
and,
just go up there and Pelly was there? And
yeah,
He'd let you work with
he'd let us get the saddle for us, and we'd saddle him up, and we'd go out for a while, and exercise and run them and bring them
What
in.
was the set? Was it a riding ring?
They had a big riding ring up in the back of it. It was all fenced in,
Okay.
and
Would you stay in the ring or would you go off?
no, always in the ring,
Okay.
always in the ring.
How many horses did they keep up there?
I know. I bet you they had 30, 40 horses, don't you think? There are a lot of horses up there. I never did keep track of them.
Right.
And I don't know who all people were that did own the horses. Then I think during the war, the place, people didn't, I think that's when it disintegrated.
Okay.
But they tore the building down, and
Can you put the two together in time? The Alibi and the horse ring?
probably the same time, except in the summer was the boat, and the winter, the horses.
And which lasted longer, the horse farm or the Alibi as Jackson's boat?
Well, I have no idea.
Okay.
I imagine the horse farm did,
Okay,
because it probably started way before he had the boat or something. That I couldn't tell you.
right. Okay.
May have been asked the question, Don, but you know whatever happened to the Alibi?
I have no idea whatever happened to it.
I asked.
I have no idea whatever happened to it.
Those boats are now real collector's items.
They would be if they were,
If they were maintained.
well, like I had a 25-footer boat years ago, and I used to keep it down the Celeron Marina there, but it being a wood hull, it had to be put into water and it had to give it time to swell the wood up so it wouldn't leak.
Right.
Well, those guys down there would every 2 hours would pull it up to see if it was still leaking. Well, they pulled it up so that they pull the planks right off from the boat, and I could not get it stopped from leaking when they did it. In fact, I was going to sue them for mismanagement of it, but anyway, the guy went broke and sold the marina, so it just didn't happen. So I just had to let the boat deteriorate.
You turned 18 in 1944.
Yeah,
Did you go into the military?
sure did. I thank God for the atomic bomb.
Okay.
I was in the middle of the Pacific Ocean on an attack transfer to the USS Joseph Dickman, and our company were scheduled to back up the invasion of Japan. And on the way out there, I remember we had to go back and forth to make sure that the boat would get hit. They dropped the atomic bombs, and when they dropped the second one, we found out that Japan had surrenders. You cannot believe how we celebrated on that boat. I don't know where all the medicinal alcohol came from, but we had a good time. I wound up in the Philippines, northern Luzon, what they call Base M, for almost the first part of 47, I guess.
Okay.
And I was there almost 2 years.
Okay.
Oh, I had fun, but I ran up there for a while, I ran a PX, and I can remember I was promoted up to a sergeant. I didn't even know it. But I ran the PX, and I was the only person authorized on that whole base that was authorized to sign for unlimited quantities of beer. Oh, it was fun.
That's great. Do you remember being aware that Jackson was at Nuremberg
I have,
prosecuting these guys?
no, I don't.
Okay.
I do know, I do have this, my cousin's husband was in the service at that time. He was in the, I think he was a guard in the military at the Nuremberg trials. But he's just been deceased, Morris Otander. He's been deceased for a good number of years.
Tell me his last name again.
Otander, Otander. Morris Otander.
And he's from this area?
He was from this area. He married my I guess it's my aunt's daughter.
Right. Is she still living?
No, she's passed away too.
Children?
Yeah, they have two boys that run the House of Television in town here.
Okay.
And they got about, I don't know how many, 7, 8 stores, I guess, throughout this part of the country.
It's Randy Otander?
Randy Otander, yeah, he was a son. And then Maury Otander, I'll just call him Buddy, he was a son. And then they have a daughter, Mary Beth.
Okay. And he was a guard at Nuremberg?
That's what I was told he was.
Okay.
I was told that he was.
Okay. Don, this is great. This is fantastic. Thank you so much.
You're right.